Welcome to Living Teal, at the table with Fare, the destination to talk about anything and everything, but most of all food. Because we're here to make sure what you eat makes you feel great and never makes you sick. A seat at the table is brought to you by Fare, taking the fear out of food, one breakthrough at a time.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. No matter where you are, we're happy you're here with us. My name is Jason Linde, and this is At the Table.
And I'm Tiffany Leon, the co-host of our podcast. And today we have two buff dudes, I should say, who will be joining us in a little bit. But I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, and it's June, Tiffany. So what are some of your favorite fitness activities, my friend?
Well, I'm taking a little bit of a fitness, I wouldn't call it a hiatus, but being pregnant, my workouts have been modified. So I've been doing the Peloton. You may have heard of it. But pre-pregnancy, I was a runner. Running outside is it's the cheapest workout. You can just get a good pair of shoes and you can do it on a road trip. You can do it at home. And my mom was the one to inspire me. She's run over 130 marathons in her life and something like 200 half marathons. So she's a little crazy, but she continues to inspire me every day. So, hey, Mom.
That's fantastic. And for me, I'm big into the Spartan races, the obstacle course races. So I'm looking forward to getting back out on the track real soon, out on the course real soon. And, when it comes to fitness, we have two of the best with us today. It's our pleasure to introduce our biggest, both in size and in celebrity, guests with 2.3 million subscribers on YouTube and over 430 million views. Please welcome Brandon and Hudson, the Buff Dudes.
Hey
there.
Hey
guys.
Hi.
How are you?
We're very good. Thank you.
Good. Well, it's wonderful to have you on board with us today. I think the very first question we'd love to find out is, where did the whole concept of the Buff Dudes and the name come from? I mean, it really captures who you are. I mean, it's a nice sort of spoof on the title, and you guys approach your workouts with humor. It's not intimidating. So, I mean, the brand name, the name is just perfect for sort of what you're sharing. So can you share with us how that came about?
Well, it started about 8 years ago, I would say. Me and Brandon were both working at a gym, me at the front desk, Brandon is a personal trainer. And on our break, we were on two separate treadmills, just side by side. And we knew it was time for something different because we had been doing kind of the standard personal training, game fitness. And we looked to one another and said, let's start a YouTube channel, because it had been something we had just kind of discovered. We realized, or at least we hoped, there was a lot of potential there. And we just kind of took it from there. We took some time to think of the name, and I was a little undecided on Buff Dudes at the time. I thought it was cool, but it needed a little bit more. And then Brandon thought of the acronym Better Understanding of Food and Fitness. And I said, that's cool. Because if we're maybe at a cocktail party, we can say that. If we're around a whole bunch of more fitness minded people, we can just say Buff Dudes.
Yeah. Brandon, anything to add? That moment of clarity there for you and Hudson?
Yeah, I mean, we watched a couple bigger channels at the time on YouTube, and they were more kind of entertaining type, more comedy. One was Epic Rap Battles of History. And we saw what they were doing on YouTube, and we're like, wow, if people are doing that kind of content, and we want to do that too. I mean, that was something that we've always loved to do. We've always been pretty creative. And I think it was just that perfect mix of fitness, humor, entertainment that we wanted to do in our channel. And it was just kind of a challenge that we wanted to see how it would work. And we were big fans of video games, grew up with playing video games. So there was one video game in one in particular that we really liked. It was Bad Dudes. It was a side-scrolling kind of beat 'em up video game where there's two guys and they have to go fight ninjas in order to save the president. So it's just that really cheesy kind of fun, over the top stuff, especially in the like 80s, 90s that we're huge fans of. So like instead of bad dudes, we'll do buff dudes, and then of course, like Hudson was saying with the acronym, a better understanding of food and fitness. So there's like a serious side to it that of course we want to do. We really want to help people, but then of course there's the comedy and entertainment part of it, where it's like just buff dudes, over the top kind of personalities and real like masculine flexing and all this, just some fun stuff to show that, hey, you can learn stuff, but it doesn't have to be boring. It can be fun. It can be exciting. And you don't have to take yourself seriously.
Yeah, I mean, that came through so clear in the Goblet of Gains video that's on bodybuilding.com. It's wonderful. You guys were hilarious. It was like a video game overlay, and that was fantastic. But I got to ask, how hard is it to bring together all these concepts? It seems like you've got creative. It seems like you've got these shoots. It's, you've got a video overlay. I mean, this seems like real production. It's just not you guys like, hey, got the iPhone out. Let's flex, let's get after it. I mean, talk to us a little bit about what goes into this, because they're well scripted and, you guys have so much fun, but it's like, there's some roadmap you're following there.
Well, thank you, Jason. Yeah, we really appreciate it. We, to put it in context, we grew up in a very small Central Oregon town, and we had very little to do. So our parents got a kind of a VHS camera back in the day, and we went wild with that thing. I mean, we were recruiting all our friends every day after school to make videos in our backyard, whether they wanted to or not, really. And we were like, you're gonna be in this. So it was really just a natural extension of that. And we had kind of cut our teeth a little bit with kind of the independent filmmaking scene in Oregon, which is small, but it was enough to kind of get our head in the right place. And of course, online video was just such a blessing for us because short form content became so much more popular. And finally, we had an avenue where we don't have to spend, make this into a 90-minute thing with a massive crew. We could kind of do it on a very small scale. So really the stars kind of aligned as far as technology was involved.
That's great. And I got to ask one last question for me on this is, all right, so what's your favorite epic rap battle of history? I've got two in my back pocket, but I wanted to see how they sync up with yours.
I really enjoyed the Einstein versus Stephen Hawking. So I think that was one of my favorites for sure.
And I got to say, probably the Jim Henson versus the Stan Lee. It took you on a real roller coaster ride.
All right. So I minored in history, so you won't be surprised. Mine was Thomas Jefferson against Frederick Douglass.
Very nice.
Frederick Douglass's line, "You founding absentee father," just cracks me up to this day. So anyway. All right. Sorry to our friends of UVA out there. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. The amount of depth they put into that. I mean, even the little throwaway lines sometimes you go, man, these guys really research these subjects. It is not just surface layer.
Yeah.
It makes you appreciate that much more for sure.
Well, now that I'm completely lost, it seems like I will have to go watch some of these epic rap battles in order to understand what just happened in the last 3 minutes. But I do agree that the short, digestible, the comedy aspect of what you're putting out there definitely makes it more approachable for people that are trying to learn a little bit more about fitness and food. And I recently, I know that FAIR worked with you guys to put together a video. I think that came out maybe in December. On a road trip from Oregon down to Stanford to talk to Dr. Carrie Nadeau, an allergist. And can you remind our listeners, if they haven't seen that video, what inspired you to take that journey?
It was wild circumstances that put that video together, because it all really began when my daughter, Anna, we found out she had an allergic reaction to cashews, which turned out to be, it wasn't on the like completely severe end, but it was definitely scary enough where we did kind of rush her to the hospital only because she broke out in hives. So that was a scary experience for me and my wife for sure. And very shortly thereafter, we were contacted through kind of a mutual party with FAIR who said, hey, do you have any experience with allergens or allergies? And we're like, well, yeah, I mean, just recently. And so much like Jason was saying with the Goblet of Gains, this turned a little bit into, in a way, an adventure, because it was like, can we get our daughter during the pandemic and the raging wildfires of the West Coast down to Dr. Carrie Nadeau? And for me personally, it turned into one of the most enjoyable projects we've ever done, because it was just, it happened really quickly, but everything together, the whole team, everyone involved was so amazing. It's going to be a cherished experience for sure.
And you've been on this food introduction journey with your daughter since that visit. Has she developed any new allergies? Anything else that she has to avoid, or it's still cashews?
We're very happy she has not. And Dr. Carrie Nadeau recommended something called Spoonful One, which we immediately got her on. And we were very disappointed in a way, because me and my wife were huge fans of the Spoonful One, and she was like, huh? So we actually started to put it in her yogurt, and thankfully she's getting it and she doesn't even know it. So we're very happy about that. And we really haven't tried the cashews again in any kind of larger amounts to kind of see where her allergy in that regard is, but we're very thankful she hasn't had any other outbreaks or reactions of any kind.
And on that journey, I believe the two of you, or the four of you, were trying to avoid the all top 9 allergies on that road trip. You want to walk us through that?
That was interesting. I mean, we had that idea like, well, why don't we try to avoid the top 9 to see how difficult it can be? And one of the more difficult things I felt is just even remembering the top 9. To make sure you look for what's in or what's not. And I feel like we failed quite a few times when we would think something was maybe top 9 free, but ended up not being top 9 free. And then you realize very quickly that almost everything that you consume contains at least something like that. You have to, it narrows your eating down so much. And I think it makes you realize how quickly that there's you get in your own routines and you don't realize how many people out there may be dealing with something like that. So once you kind of try to live in their shoes, you appreciate it so much more, and you appreciate you guys like involved in FAIR are out there to actually try to help these people out.
Yeah, especially in the fitness space, I feel like you think about these recovery foods, you think about higher protein foods, eggs, oh, that's an allergen, peanut butter, oh, that's an allergen, chocolate milk, like that's one of the top allergens. And so you definitely had to reframe your thinking and what else can I have that I'm meeting my micronutrients, but also trying to avoid some of these top 9 allergens. It's definitely challenging. I give you guys a lot of props for trying, but I am happy to hear that your daughter on her food introduction journey has still only experienced a reaction to cashews, and that it hasn't progressed to something or progressed to more. So.
Oh yeah, thank you. I know it was just a total learning lesson, like Brandon was saying, and as you were saying, Tiffany, I mean, when you are in like the fitness field, or maybe you kind of lean in that direction. I mean, like you're saying, all of the top foods that you would typically use are off the table. So you really got to kind of refocus and be very careful. And I guess the one thing I am happy, or there's multiple things I'm happy about. Well, one thing I really enjoy is it seems like we're moving in a direction where there's more options than there's ever been, where you can't say, hey, I'll get oat milk or I'll get this or that. And I do enjoy that for sure.
Yeah, and now you just have to work on her picky eating phase.
Exactly. Will she like all the other things that
right.
You know, speaking of macros and moving forward, it is June, and folks are now paying a little bit more attention to what they're eating. It's something about the summer, and putting on lighter clothes. What kind of recommendations do you guys have for our audience? Who's allergic to a variety, not necessarily all the top 9, but they're allergic to a variety of different proteins. How would you guide them on sort of getting the appropriate balance on their macros? I mean, you point out in the video, you both ended up with salad, and it seems like to a certain extent you could end up really high carb. And if you're not a runner, maybe that's not the best way to go. But what would you recommend for a good balance between, carbs, proteins, and fats? I mean, what are some ways you try to manage that situation?
I think it kind of depends on what the allergies are, what someone's dealing with. I mean, that's probably first and foremost what you would have to realize, and that's what's going to restrict you. So immediately what you do is probably just make an elimination list. These are the foods I can't have. These are the foods I can. And then what you'd want to do is obviously have, a balanced of all the protein, the carbs, the fats. And I think some people get too caught up in having no carbs and all protein, or maybe less protein, no carbs. So it's just really a balance, and it's really a consistency of having those foods and having a balanced diet for a long period of time. Some people like crash dieting. Maybe they want to get ready for a wedding. Maybe they want to get ready for vacation. Hey, I want to drop 10, 20 pounds. I'm going to cut all my carbs, or I'm going to get my calories down to 1,500 a day. And that's really just not the best way to go around it. It's more of just, like a lot of people would like to explain, which I agree with, it's a lifestyle. It's not just a diet. It's not something that you should only be on for 3 months. It's the sustainability of what you can be on forever and what's really going to make you feel good. And what's hard is because once you kind of go on to a new eating habit, some people will change it pretty fast because they don't maybe get the results they need quick enough. So they'll change something and then they won't get the results. Then they'll change it again and they'll get the results. So it's almost one of those things where you kind of have to stick with it for a little bit longer and really take notes, track your calories, track your macros, just see how your body responds to it, because everyone's going to be a little bit different. There is no perfect macronutrient percentages, 20% here, 30% there. You really want to just try to see what works best for you. And of course, when you have those restrictions through allergies, that might dictate quite a bit too. So it's really just kind of making sure you track what you're eating, make sure you're consistent with it, and, take the time to see how you respond to it.
On that, how long do you guys think it should take? I mean, so what you said, Brandon, is exactly right. I mean, so many folks are looking for a quick fix, and, and if they don't drop, a certain amount of pounds within a certain time, they're like, no. I mean, what I've read and heard is, half a pound a week to a pound a week is about where you should be. And so, if you think, okay, 7 weeks, 7 pounds, and, too often today I lost 26 pounds on this diet in 2 weeks. And it's just like, that's just not really safe. I mean, any other follow-up on that for guidance? Like, how long should the process be for someone to say, okay, look, weigh in, take a look at your macros, track, take a look back in 3 months, 4 months? Is that about how long they should sort of see? Or
it could be up to 3. Yeah. It all depends on the person. I think sometimes you have to be cautious of how much expectation you set on yourself. I want to lose a half a pound a week, a pound a week. If you're putting that there and you don't meet it, you could get discouraged. And then you're like, well, it's not working. And then of course, when you're weighing in every week, every 2 weeks, that can kind of it doesn't really dictate a lot of what's going on inside your body. If you're just trying to lose weight, of course, that can tell you if you are losing weight. But we like to recommend more like circumference measurements to see how your body, where it's losing weight. Because obviously, if you're on a training program too, your lean body mass might go up slightly while your body fat's decreasing. So the scale is not really going to tell you a lot. You obviously can do a body fat measurement test. So there's certain ways to take measurements besides just the scale. Because if you get too much caught up on like weight loss, then your body composition might not really turn out that great in the long run. You could turn into whole, skinny fat, or people like to say that, where you might lose weight, but you maybe don't look as good as you thought you do if you lose that weight. So you have to be cautious, I think. And could be 2 months, could be 3 months, could be longer, but I mean, as long as you are seeing some results, either that be the scale, either that be your circumference measurements, your body fat percentages, you do want to keep a tally. You do want to keep a notebook to see where the progression's going, how much you're having. And if you're satisfied with that, maybe if you do want to make a little tweaks here and there, but yeah, it's one of those things where it is going to take months though, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's so good to hear. And, speaking of which, to sort of help you along the way, I know you guys have a new plan out, the Superheroes Plan. It's out there to help, the regular Clark Kents and Diana Princes turn into their superheroes. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that program and who it's designed for and what it does and this sort of thing?
With a lot of our plans, Jason, we try to really design them with everyone in mind. We don't know. There's so many different people out there on different parts of the road of their journey, basically. And with the superhero plan one, it does start out simple, as many of ours do. But with that one, we really do amp it up quite a bit as it goes along, because having done this for a few years, we get a lot of comments from people saying, hey, I want something that's really intense and that's going to push me to our limit. And that's why a lot of times we'll do these programs as well to get them kind of started off, to show people that, hey, I mean, this is what we look like. This is how we feel as we're doing them, as maybe like a little bit of a teaser of what they may feel, or they may go through as they do the plan as well.
That's great.
I'm glad you said that, because I feel like there are so many, we have, a ton of different listeners out there, and they may be on different journeys in their fitness or in their food goals, while layering in food allergies.
Mm-hmm.
And so they may not be on a weight loss trajectory. They may be looking to fuel these different workouts, training for a marathon, or trying to get to the next milestone on the Peloton bike, whatever that journey may be, definitely plays a role in the micronutrient content. And even day to day, is it a rest day? Is it a tough leg day? And so it just, consistency and looking at the bigger picture can definitely help you stick to that. But that's the dietitian in me speaking.
Oh, definitely. And as you were saying too, Tiffany, I mean, with you being a runner, of course, that would greatly change like maybe your goals or your eating schedule, as opposed to maybe me and my brother. And I just wanted to add on to what Jason had talked about previously, as far as maybe what we would suggest for maybe designing certain things is, I mean, for me personally, meal prep was just a lifesaver. I mean, something as simple as a $20 slow cooker, getting everything together on a Sunday, making a list, because then, if you do have the allergens that you're looking out for, hey, if you get that food prepared and you got it for the rest of the week, it's just one less thing to have to stress out about. And it makes it that much easier. It's definitely helped me out a lot.
Well, especially when you travel too. And I think that was one of the things we learned with the fair video, is when we were traveling, if you don't have the food available, it's really difficult, the foods that you might need. So if you're obviously are restricted in a lot of ways, then having your foods pre-prepared, you can take them with you and you don't have to worry about going out or finding the right foods.
Yeah, that's true too, because even those convenience foods, even if it may not say it in the name, X, Y, and Z bar, there still could be hidden allergens in there, labeled on the package, but there still could be hidden allergens that you may not think about when you see the front of the label package. And so, yeah, I think planning ahead is super helpful and necessary in this group. So speaking of recipes, I saw you guys have some on your blog or on your website. Any push to have some top 9 free recipes coming in the future?
We would love to. And I mean, that's a great question. I mean, it's a great challenge as well, because we're always trying to find, I think our kind of, where our heads are at as far as food creation is, sticking in line with the Buff Dudes theme, is we try to keep it as simple as possible. Because sometimes when you look at, and maybe let's say you're not like a big cook, and you look at a cookbook and you see, a list this big, you're thinking, I don't even know where to get this stuff, and then it may make you go, well, if it's this difficult, I'm just going to order it from a fast food, takeout, whatever. So that is a great challenge, Tiffany, that I think we're going to try to, we'll try our best to succeed in as little, ingredients as possible.
Well, I'll look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. I agree. I think simple is definitely just like the short spurts that you guys have on your YouTube channel. It needs to be easy for the user, for your audience. Otherwise, if they need 25 ingredients to make, one super power food cookie, they're just gonna order it on Amazon.
I would.
or Whole Foods.
Yeah, I'd be like, I'm not gonna make this.
Yeah, and if you have to go out and get 20 different ingredients, then you might as well just buy the pre-made thing. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Any last words for anyone that? Oh, sorry, I'm reading my last question here. Reading my last question here while I'm speaking. Any advice? No, we already did that one. We can cut that out. Do you have any other questions, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, so you also have a bands program. You were talking about earlier before we got on board, we were talking about your different programs, and I love the Goblet of Gains, and I'm getting ready to try a different one here in a little bit. And but you also have a bands program, and a lot of folks during the pandemic, they were really limited. Gyms were closed, and frankly, buying a bench was a supply and demand. There was a ton of demand and no supply. And so it was a problem, but bands were plentiful. And you guys have got a great bands program. Can you give us our listeners just a little overview about the bands program, what they can expect? And as someone who's used the bands, some of those bands are a lot tougher than what you think. They're a lot harder to, it's easier to curl 45 than it is some of those bands, because your resistance is like, oh my God, on rep 4, you're dying. Anyway, I've hyped up the bands enough. Gentlemen, why don't you tell us a little bit about that bands program?
Yeah, I mean, a lot like our other programs, it kind of starts basic and progresses into a little bit more difficulty. We either go in phases or stages. So every 2 or 3 weeks, it'll change the phase or stage and get a little bit more difficult. And the band program is no different in that sense. We have a lot of programs: cutting, bulking, dumbbell only, body weight only. And the bands were one of those it just worked out with obviously what's happening now, as you said, with the whole equipment. The demand was high and the supply was low. All the benches, the dumbbells were gone. And if you could get them, they were ridiculously expensive. So we were actually developing the band program at the time when all this kind of craziness happened. So it worked out for maybe some people that didn't have a gym available. The gyms were shut down. They didn't have a home gym. So a band would obviously be a nice, simple fix in a lot of ways. But yeah, the program, it's really just designed much like any other program in the sense that it's using a lot of the same kind of movements, which is pretty amazing when you think about the bands. If you think about mobility bands, your first thought wouldn't be like, I can do squats with them, I can do deadlifts with them, I can do bent over rows, bench press, pretty much all the simple but yet very effective compound movements that you do with a barbell or a dumbbell. And that's why we really liked them. And the reason they feel so weird, bands, is because they use accommodating resistance. So essentially, as the band is elongating and stretching, it gets more difficult. So it kind of that contraction, that peak contraction of the muscle, as it's most shortened, the band is getting the most resistance. So it just feels, it burns. And when we were doing the mobility band program ourselves and we were going through it, the feeling of the bands is really good because it feels like low impact. It feels comfortable, which is interesting. I mean, it's painful at times, because you get the muscle burn, but in a lot of movements, it feels good, so we really have been enjoying it. We're going through it right now, actually, on our Buff Dudes workout channel. And of course, trying to motivate people and inspire people as well to go through it with us. But yeah, it's been a pleasure with mobility bands, and it's been a real blessing too. And we use them on the fair road trip too. Yeah. Going down, we had them and we were able to get our workouts in, which is cool. We're right there by the coast, doing shoulder presses and getting a pump on. So yeah, they're pretty amazing for sure. We're excited.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, the burn is the word. I mean, my God, does that come up on you and you're like, what's going on? This is just a band. Anyway, well, guys, we can't thank you enough. I mean, this has been a real pleasure. I could talk to you for a lot longer, but thank you so very much. We really appreciate this. We wish you the continued success. Obviously, you're everywhere. You're on a lot of different social channels, but why don't you share with our listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, I think where our platform where we're most frequently available is YouTube. So all you got to do is type in Buff Dudes. There's plenty of Buff Dude content for all. So whatever you need, there's probably something along the lines as far as fitness and food is concerned.
Awesome. We'll keep an eye out for those top 9 free recipes on your blog.
Oh, definitely. Thank you, Tiffany. And also congratulations on your upcoming child.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be starting my own food introduction journey sometime later this year.
Oh yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. We had a great one with you.
Yeah. Thank
you.
Thanks, Tiffany.
And welcome back. We now have our CEO, Lisa Gable, to join us. And Lisa, what's new and exciting at FAIR?
Jason, it's been an incredibly exciting month at FAIR. We just finished Food Allergy Awareness Week, and we had millions of people joining us, advocates getting engaged, cooking channel activities, so lots and lots of fun. In the background, what's been happening is that I have been invited to participate in a number of global conversations at the highest levels in technology, as well as in government and quasi-governmental organizations who are talking about the topic as food is medicine. And this is an exciting time, and here's why. I fundamentally believe that there are four parts of the public health crisis. One is cancer, one is heart disease, another is diabetes, which we know has a related component to obesity. And the fourth is food allergies and food intolerances, which impact 1 in 4 Americans. And so as I sit at these meetings with various national leaders, what I can tell them is that for food allergies, of course, we know that food is medicine. If we think about prevention, we're taking the proteins and we're introducing them to children early and often, starting at the age of 4 to 6 months for the first 2 years of life, in hopes that we can not only increase their nutrient density, but hopefully we'll prove the hypothesis through the SEED study that it will also reduce risk of food allergies. Secondarily, is oral immune therapy is based on the incremental dosing of the patient with more and more amounts of the allergen to which they're allergic. And that's really the fundamentals of Palforzia, which is the first therapy on the marketplace. And then lastly, we know that food allergy patients have to avoid a lot of foods. And as a result, they are looking for opportunities to increase their nutrient density, but also they're at risk through food. The light bulbs go off when we have this conversation, and all of a sudden FAIR becomes a key player in a conversation that is really getting a great deal of funding and attention, not only in the United States, but also globally.
Yeah, no, that is amazing. And the food is medicine. It's, it's something that we're always told growing up, right? I mean, whether it was chicken soup for a cold or for get other nutrients. And it's just, I'm just so delighted to hear this. And frankly, the government, which is not always the fastest to act on certain things, saw this in its own dietary guidelines that came out in December. And, we're very happy to see that, egg and peanut were part of those 2 allergens that were asked to be introduced. But, shifting gears just a little bit, Lisa, we had the Buff dudes on earlier, and I definitely was a fanboy and had some good conversations with them. And so, which leads me to ask, it's June, it's beautiful out. How do you exercise? What do you do to stay in shape, get rid of the stress, and just treat yourself well? What are some of the things that you like to do?
Well, one thing I've learned working in the health and wellness space for the last 15 years is that self-care is really important. Whether or not it's, as we said, making sure that we, eat our colors every single day and ensure that we have nutrient density in our diets, but also in exercising. And so the ways in which I exercise is I swim at nighttime, especially when there's beautiful weather. And if I wake up super early in the morning, I'll usually go biking around 6 a.m. Those 2 things allow me to think. It's not only that you're exercising, but you're giving your brain the opportunity in a non-stressful situation to calibrate for the day, to think through new ideas, to come up with new learnings. And so it's a wonderful opportunity, especially with this magnificent spring and summer that we are entering into right now as we come out of COVID, is to have an opportunity to get the exercise that each and every one of us needs. Although I don't think that my scrawny little body is ever going to match up to the Buff dudes. In fact, I think that one of their arms is about the size of my entire body. Those guys are amazing.
Yeah, well, it's all about what your goals are for fitness, right? I mean, a lot of us are we want to stay lean. We want to keep we want to keep it a healthy weight. And we want to stay, mobile and flexible. And I can't agree with you more. When I'm out for a run or I'm lifting hard and the music is going and my mind is shut down, besides the endorphin rush, you just get great ideas. I can't tell you how many times I've written something down or did a voice memo for myself where it was just like, because you sort of unlock your potential by being out there and letting your mind wander. And so I think that's wonderful. And I'm a big morning guy too. It's why I think there's coffee and tea, because it's the ultimate gas before you get to the gym or hit the road or jump in the pool. So I think that's wonderful. Well, Lisa, anything else to add to our conversation today?
No, we just look forward to keeping in contact with our food allergy families. We know people are taking vacation. Again, as things have changed and the mask guidance changed, we know you're trying to get out there, see family members, keep us involved, keep us engaged, send us notes. We want to see what you're doing. Let us know how we can support you. We recognize that summer camps, some are opening up, some are not opening up, but we want to make sure that you have the resources that you need so you can live a safe and happy life. And really, everyone, enjoy this summer. It's a special summer. We didn't really have one last year. So enjoy your time with your family, getting those hugs you haven't gotten, being able to do those cheek kisses that you haven't been able to do. We appreciate your sticking with us through the pandemic, during the quarantine, continuing to elevate your lives, your voices, and making great things happen.
Yeah, well said, Lisa. Well said. Well, thank you, everyone, for being with us today. On behalf of my co-host, Tiffany, Leon, myself, and Lisa Gable, we wish you a wonderful summer, a great June, and just a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thanks.